Clubhouse. So what is this all about? Why everyone is now all of a sudden talking about this new social media app? And is it just like a passing hype, or Clubhouse is here to stay and become the next Twitter, Instagram, TikTok of the world? Well, in this video, I will actually address multiple different things. I will help you with a walkthrough to help understand what the app is about, how to use it, and some of the key features in it. If you're already in the app, I'll leave you with some tips and tricks on how to make the most of it, and also on some of the things to look out for. And finally, if you're not on the app, stick around until the end of the video, because I will have a way for you to join the closed beta that's going on right now. If you only came here specifically for one of these subsections, use the chapter section in the description below and jump straight into that area. And well, welcome to the TohirT channel. My name is Tahir, and I'm excited to talk to you about my new favorite social media app after YouTube. Clearly. Let's do this. On this channel, I primarily talk about people, places, and tech, and if you're curious to learn more about other cool technologies out there, well, after this video is done, check out this playlist over here or one of the cards at the end of the video. Clubhouse is a new social media app. They have been growing tremendously fast. It's like one of those trajectories that you know that it's either gonna end in some big major blockbuster or it's just gonna fizzle out at some point once COVID is done. But to give you the idea, about a year ago or less than so, they were only at 3,000 users. Closer to November, they were above 500,000. And today, from the stats that I've seen, they're above 2 million concurrent users. And they're still in a closed private beta. And you can only get in using one of the invites. Well, when it comes to the experience itself, the best way I can describe it is, imagine you are at the party, but at the party in like almost like a restaurant, a big space where there are multiple different tables and they have their own smaller discussions. One table is talking about their latest TV show or the episode that they've watched. One table is talking about the business. The other one is talking about the school district and some of the issues that they have with their kids in those school districts. Well, in the regular environment, especially pre-COVID and hopefully post-COVID, you just stroll over to one of those tables. Based on the topic, you either hang around and you listen in, maybe you jump in and offer your opinion and participate, and then you walk off to the next one. Now imagine Clubhouse doing exactly that in the virtual environment, and there's no awkwardness around it. There's no awkwardness about you just standing there and saying nothing. You can remain as part of the room that you joined, around the particular interest, listen in, and if you don't like the discussion, just peace out of it and go move to the next one and switch from one to the other and find the room that you really like. Clubhouse offers us an opportunity, like regular folk, open any kind of room we want. I've seen such a wide range of topics, from people talking politics, people talking different kind of technologies. I literally, just before shooting this video, was sitting on a discussion about the photographers who are trying to figure out what to do in the COVID lockdown and how to kind of like elevate their game and keep their business going. There are even weird stuff. Oh, okay, not weird stuff. There's entertaining stuff like people singing karaoke, just jumping on stage and one by one singing their favorite songs, or even some more of a after night hours where people discuss raunchier topics that are maybe not as friendly for the broader audience. Let's put it this way, I'll keep it at that. The amazing part, and the reason why I love talking about people in general, is that we have so many different interests, and so each one of those interests can be fairly represented, and you can find like-minded people using the Clubhouse. Now, to help you actually see how all of this works, in the next section, let's talk about the UI and how the app actually looks and how to navigate it. First and foremost, I'll remind you that you do need today an invite, or you have to join the waitlist to be included in that private beta. And stick around, because at the end of the video, I will talk about how you can join. Now, once you are inside the app, you see the list of all the different rooms. They're represented as like separate sections, which usually highlights the topic of the discussion that is input by the moderator and some of the key people who are in the room right now. And it's literally a one-tap action, essentially with two taps, one on the app and the second one on the room. You're right inside the meat of the experience that Clubhouse offers. You right away joined on the audio. You do not have audio connection yet on your side, so you cannot speak. You do listen everything that's being said and discussed in the room. It's not a recording. Clubhouse does not record the audio. So essentially, when you join, this is a live discussion that is currently being handled by people from all over the world and the geographies that they're open in. And once it's done, and the discussion is gone in that regard. Now, you can participate in the discussion yourself. For you to join, you have to become part of the stage. The stage is that section at the top of the room where you essentially see a group of people who have an ability to speak up, but they are all hopefully on mute.
No, you're not on mute. You're not on mute.
and really speak up when they want to add some sort of opinion. To be added to the stage, you need to raise a hand. So in the bottom right corner, there is a special icon. You click on it. It essentially notifies the moderator of the room that you would like to join the discussion because you have something to add. And the moderators are those guys on stage with the green icons. So they essentially are the ones who are tasked with both making sure the right people are on stage as well as the discussion flows naturally and it stays on topic. The other functions that you have as a listener and part of the room, you have the plus sign. You can invite other people into the room. Some rooms are private for a specific club, so you actually cannot invite just anyone to the room, but the majority of the rooms have been to their free-for-all, and you essentially can keep adding people into the room. As well as there is that famous peace sign, which I love, and it essentially allows you to leave the room quietly. There is no announcement, no dings, and different kind of like sounds that everyone else hears. You just quietly peace out of the room. Now, the other functions within the room itself that are worth mentioning, in some rooms they do post the local rules, which usually very helpful, at least helps you understand what the room is about, but I rarely see that function being utilized. You can tap on anyone's icon in their room and access their profile. The profiles are important because this is how you can start following someone who you really enjoy. We'll talk more about the moderators, as I said, but I like following certain moderators who are doing a great job. Or sometimes when people speak up and they talk about, say, their businesses, we're talking some sort of like a business ideas and negotiations, and there's some discussion going on. I like to tap on the person and see, okay, what are you actually up to? And you can see sometimes there are links. They always can add Twitter and Instagram profiles, so you can go and check them out on other social medias and take the conversation there. The way the follow button affects your experience when you hit that icon on the profile of a particular user is that you will now going forward be notified when they join as a speaker or they create new rooms. So that reinforces that idea of following people who you think you either like the way they present certain information, they're way more knowledgeable about some topic that you want to be more knowledgeable on, or just in general you find them easy, outgoing enough that they keep the conversation flowing, and you want to make sure that for the best experience in Clubhouse you go and join their rooms. One final item to keep in mind that is a little bit harder to record because it kind of happens in a moment, but the way you will know that you're at it on stage is you'll see that green section at the top popping up with an invitation to let you know that, okay, you're now being invited to join the stage. And once you are on stage, you're not auto-muted by default. So please make sure you right away mute yourself. This is a best practice. You're in the virtual world long enough now, you know that how annoying it can get when someone joins the call, do not mute themselves, and there's like the entire cacophony of sounds in the background. So please be mindful of the experience of others in the room and tap that mute button until you actually want to go and express certain thoughts. Now that we're done with the primary area that you will engage the most, let's talk about some of the other features that you will see within the app. You can minimize any room that you're in. This is like the beautiful quality of life decision that the creators made from the very beginning. Most of the time, you're not actually staring at the screen in the room unless you're really curious to see who else is joining or coming in on stage and so on and so forth. Usually I'm in some other app. I just flip to the other app and maybe I'm reading something, maybe I'm writing up something. Like in this case, I was writing the notes for this script for the video while listening in on the CEO of Clubhouse presenting at the town hall at noon on Sunday. Now, you can also go and just start browsing through the app. And this is where some of the other features are important. On the top left corner, you have that search button. Right now, it's primarily searches through the clubs and through individuals. So the clubs are essentially just a group of people on the same topic. Once you join the club, you can get invited in those closed private rooms, as well as you can see who are other members of that club for you to inspire maybe someone new to follow. So this is the primary use case. And from what I've heard from actual today's town hall, that the search for specific rooms is coming down the line. Now you also have the envelope sign. The envelope sign essentially allows you to invite others. The number of invites you get is limited, so be mindful of that. The next icon is the calendar. Think of the calendar as the scheduled rooms. So essentially you can create an ad hoc room. I can go open the app right now, create a room within like 10 seconds, and people can start flowing into my room to start the discussion. Or if you want to say, invite a couple of high-ticket speakers, maybe someone who is really busy, or you yourself are busy and you want to carve out time on your calendar to host a room, this is where you can schedule a room in advance and put it out there on the calendar so your followers will know that there is the room coming up at a certain hour and they can block that time on their calendar. And now you have a more organized event in place. That segues me well into the notifications section, where essentially you see notifications about different people who you follow, people joining, people starting to follow you sometimes, things of that nature. So You've seen notifications in other apps. We don't have to spend more time than that. And finally, top right corner, you have your profile. The profile itself, I think, is important because this is your introductory card. As I've mentioned, while people are in the room, it's very common for you to go pop open the speaker's profile and see what they're about. I can do way better job about my profile, and I want to work on it over the coming days, but definitely make sure you add the Twitter and Instagram profiles if you have those, because this is a way by which I've engaged with so many other speakers, especially if I liked what they said but I wasn't on stage, so I couldn't comment, or commenting on it wasn't appropriate because the discussion moved elsewhere. I would tap on that profile, open their Twitter, and I would just DM the person. Here's the example of me chatting with the angel investor at the Clubhouse because he said something interesting about the future of the business of the Clubhouse, and I just wanted to express my thoughts, and we had a small exchange on Twitter, almost in private, but it was a nice way to engage and talk to people outside of the platform. At this point, you're essentially in my level when it comes to the knowledge of the UI and navigating the app. So I think it's time now to talk about some of the things that Clubhouse can do better. Clubhouse lives and dies by the quality of the rooms, and let's say that quality can vary a lot. You will see plenty of get-rich-quick schemes and different discussions and powerful millionaire networking opportunities. You can see a lot of follow for follow. It's like, hey, I have an IG and I have a TikTok, let's go and follow each other while we're just sitting there silently in the room, which A, defeats the purpose of having a Clubhouse in the first place, but B, is essentially just a group of people tapping on each other's profiles and going and following them. Do not do that. Just don't engage with those kind of things. Moderators, as I mentioned, moderators are like the second most important, or in some cases, you know what? First most important part of the room, because those people are the ones who help you navigate the discussion and point it in a certain direction. And if it starts getting derailed or sidetracked into a completely different topic, they would be the ones to bring it back. They're also the ones who are seeing and making sure the people on stage who were invited had a chance to speak, and those who speak too much maybe get asked to be like, hey, you know what, pipe down for a couple of minutes and like let other people talk, but they do it politely. Those are the people who A, you should follow and just keep working and kind of like following them on their journey through the Clubhouse, but B, be mindful of that, because trust me, I've been in the discussions where A, the moderator did not know what they were doing, which I do not blame them, but it's hard and to watch and listen when there's like 50 people in the room and this person is asking others about how can they add someone else to the stage. So probably happens to everyone, but just know that this might happen to you as well. The descriptions are tough. Some people, I think, on purpose try to make them vague enough that a lot of people join out of curiosity. I joined one. It sounded like interesting that they were talking about some interesting problem and like social relationship issues. Turned out to be people talking sexual fantasies by incorporating other people who were in that room. Yeah, it sounds as weird as I just described, and no one picked me. Okay, I did bounce pretty quickly out of there, but this is the kind of thing that you will still come across. This is the early stages of this app growing and finding its shape and form. So just be wary of the fact that depending on the moderators and the type of rooms you're in, your experience will vary widely. And as well as finally, I do think it's weird that we do not have right now the search function for the rooms. I would actually prefer to have search function for the rooms over the search function for the clubs. I'm more likely to join the room because the room is the way I'm getting introduced to the app the first time rather than the club. I'm only part of like 2 clubs and I joined them after being in a couple of interesting rooms by those clubs. So they did say that this feature is coming in the next couple of weeks, so by the time you're watching this video, this fact might be outdated. But at the time being, right now in January, this is a little bit painful because essentially all I can do is keep scrolling through the list of the rooms until I find something that's interesting enough, and then yet again, depending on how good of a quality the description is or whether they actually even use a proper description, it might be that weird experience where I bounce from different rooms until I find the room that I find really aligns with my interests. With that, I think it's a perfect time to segue into the discussion of what are the tips and tricks that I have for you to make the most of the experience on the Clubhouse, because it still is a very good app. The first tip might sound very basic, but join the rooms that you only want to join. Don't feel forced that you always have to respond to those notifications and join every single room. Feel free to remain silent for the duration of the entire discussion and never accept that raised hand, even if the moderator tries to invite you on stage. If you don't want to contribute to the discussion or you're in an environment that is not very conducive for you to speak publicly, and enjoy. I gained as much from just sitting there in the room and listening to other people talk who are way smarter than me on the topic, then I spoke up. In my experience on the app so far, I may have joined maybe 3 or 2 stages at most. Definitely make sure, and I've said it multiple times through this video, follow the moderators that you enjoyed. They make or break a lot of the experience on the app, and as you go through that experience, as you find different rooms, as you come across the moderators that you feel like did a great job or carried a great discussion, just hit that follow button on them, because the app will notify you in the future that they started another room, and that will make sure that instead of sitting there and scrolling mindlessly and trying to find the room and kind of like rolling the dice every single time you join, whether you're going to have a good or bad experience, you will join the moderator who you know always consistently delivers. And with that, use the social media features, because Clubhouse does not have in-app messaging system. So there's no way for you to encourage the moderators and tell them that they're doing a great job or the discussion is great. So what I do, and you've seen my experience earlier about one of those VCs, I just tap on their Twitter and I go on the Twitter and either make a public statement or I just DM them and let them know that, hey, I'm about to drop from the room, but you did an amazing job moderating this room, so please accept my gratitude and I'll see you around on the Clubhouse. This is why Twitter and Instagram are there. They're in part to show the portfolio, but the big part, I think, is to enable you to go and communicate with the people and take the conversation outside of the app and have those private discussions. And that perfectly sets me up for one of these hidden features about Clubhouse that I think will become the powerhouse for years to come, and it is networking. First and foremost, this comes from the person who hates events networking. Like, I hate it. Like, here's a microphone. Hate it. Because I do not like this awkward engagement. If you've ever been to one of those events or events at school, career fairs, where there's this one person everyone wants to talk to and there's this awkward line of people staying and walking over to them one by one, and you have to strike up this awkward, again, small talk in order to get to the point where you ask them for their business card, for their whatever, LinkedIn, Twitter account in these days. This all is gone in a Clubhouse, because now you have direct access to their information. If people want to be reached out to, they will leave their Twitters, their Instagrams. Some people even drop their email addresses or even their phone for the text messages. So you have an ability to go and network with like-minded people. I've already came across a few people on the platform who've spoken on topics that I want to be better at, whether it is a business or creative world. And I kind of like tapped on the follow and I wrote down their name because I want to go back to them and chat with them, maybe as a follow-up to the same discussion. Maybe it's a potential way to collaborate on some of the creative projects for this channel. But Clubhouse have so much potential here. So this is where it's so crucial for you to find those rooms that you enjoy. Find people who are way smarter than you at those rooms and really listen in, see what they say. If you feel like you have something interesting to say, join the conversation, let them know that you're out there, gain some of this street cred in the Clubhouse while speaking to other people, while being on the stage. And then if you don't feel like doing any of that, or in addition to those items, just make sure you DM them and leverage that network and take that network from the Clubhouse to Twitter, Instagram, and eventually emails and phones and whatever else you might need to conduct the business and the purpose for your networking in the first place. I did keyword association, said business, and it got me thinking, yes, there will be opportunities for you to monetize and make money on Clubhouse. No, it's not available right now. I think to Paul, Rohan, and their team, the co-founders, who decided right away that there won't be any ads inside the app. No mid-roll, post-roll ads, so thank God for that. As well as they do not want to monetize in any way our customer information. That's why part of the reason you see the profiles are so skim. There's not much information that they store about us, but the opportunities that will come later on that they already start talking about are, for example, an ability to tip the moderators. So if you're doing a great job as a moderator and you're really good at it, people will come and tip. And I can think of, like, yesterday I was in one of the rooms. I would definitely throw like $1 or two to two of those guys because they clearly took time, they prepared for the discussion, and I gained a lot from it, like personal and professional. I actually learned something. So to me, it feels fair that I'll throw $1 or two their way. Also, on top of that, they want to enable us to have clubs and like private club events that you're paying for. Maybe it's a membership for the club, as well as bigger events where people pay to join. So essentially the event would be a larger room, and so you have high ticket speaker. Maybe there's like Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, or maybe there's someone from the creative world joining, right? Maybe some famous director. And for you to be able to talk and ask them questions, you'll have to pay some sort of an entry fee. Right now, a lot of those engagements are free. I can see some of them being behind the paywall in the future, which is a little bit of a downside. I was in the room where I could ask Tiffany Haddish different questions. She's like one of the bigger creators right now, or biggest celebrity creators on the platform. But in the future, they do, I think, want to instill some sort of an ability to monetize those engagements, which I think is fair. It takes a lot to set something up like this, especially with a big ticket person of that kind. So yeah, there will be opportunities for you to make the living. And as CEO of the company, Paul said on one of the recent calls I was with him on, is that he really wants to push this forward and make sure that some people can actually make their full-time wages on the app. Are you in the Clubhouse today? Are you planning to join? And what will be the first room you search for when you do finally join the app? Share your thoughts and ideas in the section below. Overall, and clearly, it's hard to hide, I'm drinking a Kool-Aid and I'm really enjoying the app. However many weeks that I've been on the platform so far, I've been listening to countless hours of the different discussions. I've been doing work and it was playing in the background. I'm doing some chores around the house and I saw some interesting room popping in and I just popped in there and I listened to things. I've heard some new opinions I've never thought about, and it really kind of like changed my view on certain points, or I heard certain things that made me realize that my original opinion on that topic was completely off base, and that wasn't that additional benefit that I realized. I'm like, wait a second, there is a lot of value in this honest, unpolished, very kind of like live-driven discussion on a certain topic where you hear people's raw emotions. This was, I think, both missing in the in-person connections that we used to have pre-COVID, but also I think overall it's much harder to have those discussions in the face-to-face when you're like in the middle of the stage and there are actual like 20, 30 eyeballs looking at you. Here you're in the comfort of your own room. You can wear whatever you want, you can be wherever you want, and you can have that phone on you. Speak into it and share your honest feedback and opinion on whatever the topic you joined. Now, as promised, I do have still 2 invites left on my account that I'd like to share with some of you out there. So if you're interested in joining the Clubhouse, first and foremost, check the geographies. They're limited to certain geographies right now, obviously the North Americas, but I think in Europe it's only like Germany and UK and a couple of other countries. So make sure, as long as you're on iOS, so you have an iPhone and you're one of those geographies, leave down in the comment section the reason why you want to join. I do not want to make it like a highbrow exercise where you have to sell me on it. It's just that my name as a person who invites you will be associated with you going forward and forever. So I want to make sure whoever joins the platform actually will benefit from using it and actually is reasonable enough that no one will look back at me and say like, hey, this person was misbehaving and you were the one to bring them onto the platform and we just banned them. So just, yeah, drop in the comment section below, why do you want to join? Make sure you check that you actually have access to the Clubhouse app. Or if I run out of the invites, make sure you join the waitlist because they are pretty fast from what I've heard with the waitlist, and eventually there'll be more and more people on the platform. Thank you very much, guys, for stopping by. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Let me know what you thought about this video, and I will see you next Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern, on this very channel. For the outro, if you want to hear, if you thought that sex fantasy experience was not weird enough, I joined this room, which turned out to be okay, but it was essentially I think they called it the sound waterfall, and it was essentially the person DJing, but she played a bunch of different like meditation, like imagine the meditation sounds that you would hear, but then she would bring in some like hip-hop music, then she would bring some MLK speeches, Kamala Harris's acceptance speech at inauguration, some other tracks. It worked out great. It was like a nice way to completely isolate myself. I had my headphones on, so I finished writing the script for this video while listening to it. But that's the range. So you can have a discussion about some business ideas, move into the world of creative and talk about people, how you like to set up your lights in the studio, and finish by listening to someone being a DJ and playing to you Kendrick Lamar right next to some yoga meditation like music. Yeah, interesting. And I highly recommend joining it because of that. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.